When your dog suddenly starts digging, do you actually know what that means? It looks like they're just being destructive or bored, maybe even trying to ruin your yard. But behind that dirt flying and those frantic paws, there's something deeper that most dog owners completely miss. It's one of the most instinctive and emotionally driven things your dog can do. And if you misunderstand it, which most owners do, you might accidentally increase their stress or ignore a need they're trying to express. Let's start with what this behavior really means. 1. The debunk. It's not just bad behavior. You walk outside, and there it is, a fresh hole in your yard. Maybe your dog is still in the middle of it. Paws moving fast. Dirt everywhere. Completely focused. Most people think it's about disobedience or boredom. Or worse, they assume their dog is being stubborn or acting out. Here's what's actually happening. Digging isn't random. It's not rebellion. It's a deeply wired behavior that serves a purpose. Dogs don't wake up and think, "Let me destroy the garden today." They respond to internal signals, physical, emotional, and instinctual. And digging is one of the oldest behaviors in their DNA. Emotionally, this matters more than you think, because when your dog digs, they're not ignoring you. They're following something they times feel compelled times to do. Think about that for a second. This is where most owners get it wrong. They try to stop the behavior without understanding the reason behind it. But your dog isn't being difficult. They're communicating, just not in a language most people recognize. And once you understand that, everything changes. 2. The signs your dog's brain is still wired for survival. Have you ever noticed how focused your dog becomes when digging? It's almost like nothing else exists in that moment. Most people assume it's just physical energy being burned off. Here's what's actually happening. Digging activates ancient neural pathways in your dog's brain, ones tied to survival. A 2020 study from the University of Cambridge found that repetitive instinctual behaviors like digging can release dopamine in dogs. That's the same chemical add to reward and satisfaction. But what matters is this. Your dog isn't just digging for fun. They're feeling a sense of purpose. Emotionally, it's incredibly powerful, because in that moment, your dog feels like their time's doing something important. Asterisk. Think about that for a second. In the wild, digging meant finding food, creating shelter, or protecting resources. So, when your dog digs today, even in your backyard, their brain still treats it like a meaningful task. And here's where it gets even deeper. If your dog suddenly starts digging more than usual, it could mean they're time-seeking that sense of purpose more often. Asterisk. Which raises an important question. What are they missing? 3. The scent, pack, bond. They're marking their word and you. Now imagine this. Your dog chooses a specific spot. They dig there again and again. Most people think it's just coincidence. Here's what's actually happening. Dogs experience the world primarily through scent. And digging doesn't just move dirt. It spreads their scent. Animal behavior. Researchers have observed that dogs use digging as a way to mix their scent into the environment, reinforcing familiarity and safety. Emotionally, this is huge, because when your dog digs in times your yard asterisk, they're not just making a mess. They're making that space feel like time's home. Asterisk. Think about that for a second. They're blending their scent with yours. This is pack behavior. And what makes this even more powerful is, it means your dog sees themselves as part of something with you. A unit, a pack. And when they dig near places you frequent, like near the door, under windows, or close to where you sit. They're reinforcing that bond. Your dog is identifying you as their safe base. Now, before we keep going, if you're learning something new about your dog, hit like and subscribe. That's how we get these videos to more people who want to build a real bond with their dog. 4. The evolutionary route. This behavior was once life or death. Let's go back, way back, before your dog had a bed, before toys, before fences. In the wild, digging wasn't optional. Most people don't realize this, but digging could mean survival. Here is what's actually happening. Wild dogs and wolves dig to create shelter, to hide food, to protect themselves from heat or cold. Puppies even instinctively dig to create safe resting spots. Emotionally, this tells us something important. Digging isn't a learned bad habit. It's something your dog is born knowing how to do. Think about that for a second. Even if your dog has never needed to dig for survival, their body still remembers. And here's where it gets even deeper. If your dog is digging to lie down afterward, especially on hot days, they're trying to regulate their body temperature. Cooler soil underneath helps them feel safe and comfortable. So next time your dog digs a hole and curls up in it, they're not being weird. They're being time smart. *5. The selective behavior. They don't do this everywhere. Here's something most people overlook. Your dog doesn't dig everywhere. They choose specific places. Why that spot? Why not somewhere else? Most people assume it's random. Here's what's actually happening. Your dog is selective because the behavior is tied to meaning. They choose spots based on scent, comfort, and emotional association. Emotionally, this is powerful because it means their digging is intentional. If your dog digs near your home, near your presence, it's not just convenience, it's connection. What makes this even more powerful is they don't do this with every environment. Your dog might ignore other places completely, but feel the urge to dig times around you. That's not coincidence. That's trust, the ultimate revelation. It's a release of emotion. Now let's go deeper. Have you ever noticed your dog digging more when something changes? A new routine, less attention. Most people think it's just excess energy. Here's what's actually happening. Digging can be an emotional release. Studies on domestic dogs show that repetitive behaviors often increase when dogs experience stress or unmet needs. But here's what matters most. They're trying to times regulate how they feel. Think about that for a second. That hole in your yard might be your dog's way of coping, of calming themselves, of creating control in a moment where something feels off. And here's where it connects back to the beginning. You thought it was destruction, but it might actually be expression. So next time your dog digs, remember, they might not need punishment. They might need understanding. 7. The warning. When digging suddenly changes. And by the way, if your dog suddenly starts digging more than usual, don't ignore it, because here's what's actually happening. A sudden change in digging behavior can signal stress, anxiety, or even physical discomfort. If it becomes excessive, frantic, or paired with other behaviors like pacing or whining, your dog is trying to tell you something. Think about that for a second. Dogs don't suddenly change behavior without a reason. And if digging becomes their main outlet, it might mean they don't have another way to cope. This is where most owners get it wrong. They focus on stopping the digging instead of asking, what changed? Because that answer is what your dog actually needs. So, when your dog suddenly starts digging, do you actually know what it means? It's not just boredom. It's not just destruction. That's not bad behavior. That's instinct. That's communication. That's emotion. And that behavior. It was never small to your dog. And it shouldn't be small to you either.